folks. Hello, and welcome to Tavern Chat. I am your host, your bartender in the OSR, Eric Tenkar. And yesterday, I put up a video kind of explaining why it is I do what I do, and the response has been amazing. I think we got like 44 likes or so, one dislike. So thank you, Justin or Dave. Probably wasn't both of you. I mean, maybe they're sharing accounts now. Um, and the comments have been overwhelmingly supportive, and I do appreciate it. But I've gotten a number of PMs via Facebook, Discord, by my phone. I've got some text messages. I've gotten emails, and I've gotten a few questions. So I figured I'd address some of the questions because they are kind of relevant. And I guess without further ado, we'll delve right into it. One of the questions was, how did I get into doing investigations in the gaming industry? Like what spurred that? And I will tell you the exact day, time, location that spurred it. I was at the Complete Strategist in Manhattan with Jill the lawyer and Tavis Allison. It was the day before Halloween, I guess in 2012, because it was the day before Hurricane Sandy hit. And we were playing the Dungeon board game in Rattle and Hum, which was a really nice bar with a great tap selection right across from the Complete Strategist. And we were talking, and Tavis goes to me, "Hey, if you want some interesting topic to look into, I would suggest you start looking into the Guy Gax Memorial Fund." And I was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He goes, "I'll just start digging. You were a cop. I was a cop at the time. You've got experience in this stuff. Just start digging. You'll be amazed at what you find." And then the hurricane hit, and New York City got flooded, and I was working 12-hour tours. And I was working like 7 to 7, 7 to 8, 7 to 10, whatever, uh, for the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. It was a large amount of time. Totally left my mindset. And then maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 months later, I went, "Oh, shit. All right, let me start looking into this." Actually, might have been close to a year later, actually, when I think about it. And I started looking into it. And I started digging some dirt. And it didn't look good when you start looking into it because, like, for one thing, the homepage for the Memorial Fund had, like, I don't know, 40 people listed as being involved in it. And I knew some of these people, not well. But if you've been involved in the gaming community, you are involved in social media, you get to know people. I knew at least one of them from gaming face to face in Manhattan in prior times. And I was like, this can't be good. So I reached out and I said, "Hey, you're listed as XYZ on the Gygax Memorial Fund page." I go, "Is that accurate?" And the response I got was, "What the fuck? I just volunteered to do one simple thing once and done." I go, "No, you're down here for." And then we started talking to other people that were listed, and I brought it up, and lo and behold, the page listing 40 people was suddenly only listing like 6, and told me that, all right, there's something else or something possibly more going on. And I started digging into it. And what happened with that one, and this is where I knew, like when I say, like when somebody threatened to do with legal action, you know you're on target. And I've had numerous comments telling me that, including via PMs from others that are active or retired in law enforcement. Once you are threatened, once you have somebody who feels they need to have you back away, you pretty much know you're on target. And somebody on a blog post at the tenkarstavern.com for those following along at home, made some comment that kind of conflated the Gygax Memorial Fund and the uh, revocable trust, the Gygax Revocable Trust. And the trust is what controls Gary's IP. And a memorial fund is what is put together as a nonprofit that is supposed to, at some point, put together a statue. It was also supposed to put together a, dare I say it, believe it or not, uh, some kind of like, oh, what do you call it when you give money for somebody's education, a scholarship? Yes, yes. It's still actually mentioned in the filing as a nonprofit, but it never happened. Never happened. Probably never will happen. Something they could have easily done. So when you start scratching the surface, right, and then you get hit with the there is false information on your website regarding the Gygax Memorial Trust and the Gygax Memorial Fund and the revocable Gygax Trust, or what do you call it. And if you fail to correct it, you may be liable for legal action and damages. I'm looking at this shit, and I'm like, first off, I know I didn't do it, so I had to go and I had to look. Oh, look, there's a comment that conflates the two. And my response was to put up a blog post explaining that the two things are separate, and that as a blog, I am not liable for the comments that are made on the blog. And that's actually a legal protection that's given. So, but I also learned in my dealings with Gail, we were dealing directly back and forth on Facebook. And Gail would communicate with me, and she'd be very nice and polite, and she would sign it Gail Carpenter. But when she was being, trying to think of a good word, there's no good word to say this. When she was being an asshole, if I say another word, I'll be demonetized. But I did joke at some point that she would trademark the word if she could. When she was being an asshole, she signed it Mrs. E. Gary Gygax. First off, who signs the communications on Facebook? But that's how communicating with Gail was. So when I got things signed as Mrs. E. Gary Gygax, that's when I started saying to myself, it is time to screenshot everything, which is why, and I think this isn't a secret, right? I screenshot most conversations that are relevant to an investigation. I screenshot web pages. I screenshot whatever, Twitter, Facebook, because that is evidence. Like there's the whole thing, like the internet will never forget. So especially if you screenshot it, it will never forget. There are times when I failed to do that. I will gladly admit that, but I will often be offered such from other members of the community, which brings to another question that has been asked. And that question is how did I phrase it? How do you recruit your informants? It's not really a nice way to put it, but in any case, how do I contact the people that give me information? And here's the honest answer. I don't. Okay. I don't. I've never reached out to anybody and said, hey, do you have dirt on Gail Gygax, Ken Whitman, Justin, whoever? I don't. Because if you go searching for it, yes, you'll find it, and it will likely not be accurate. No, I get people. I mean, it was in the case of Ken Whitman, it became so prevalent and so obvious that Ken used to do social media purges of people within his circles. And first, it was he'd purge everybody he didn't know well, and then he'd purge everybody he didn't know personally. And he started purging people he knew personally because he was trying to find the leaks. I don't recruit people. I don't search people out. I rely upon my reputation. And that reputation means that I have to keep the identifications of the people that I deal with secret, right? Otherwise, why would you deal with me? If I'm gonna blab it to the world, why would you deal with me? You need to know that there's some kind of protection if you talk to me, and that's why I've had people in situations where it has shocked me sometimes reach out and talk to me. Some people do it by messages on Facebook or Discord. Some people will only do it by voice. But I don't reach out to people to start these conversations, despite what rumors might say. I don't. you know, I, if you need to talk about something, if there's something that concerns you, if you feel like you need to get something off your chest, you know how to get in contact with me. I don't need to explain it. People can figure it out. And I'm certainly not going to start reaching out and saying, I need to know X or I need to know Y. I'm not going to find any good information doing that. What else? Oh, who was the first person that doxed you? And I got news for you. It wasn't who you would think. My first person who, should say, tried to dox me was Ken Whitman. And he actually put out a call on social media. I saw the screenshot. So, again, this was on one of his closer circles. I want the real name and mailing address of Eric Tenkar. And he was like putting a call out for it. And then he goes, things like, I know he lives in Lake Geneva. I don't live in Lake Geneva. I live in New York City. Never made a secret of that, right? But Ken is probably, and I don't think anybody should take offense by this, but Ken is probably the stupidest individual that I have dealt with. Gail, I don't even know if I was always dealing with Gail. I always suspected I was dealing with members of her immediate family, not the siblings, not the offspring, but her siblings. So not like I wasn't dealing with the later generation. I was dealing others from her generation. Ken Whitman really is dumb. My honest opinion. All right, maybe somebody has. He's got that ability to have like I don't know, a natural 19 charisma with that built-in charm ability, but it's only one time only, and then you realize, oh my god, this guy is what a fucking ass. But so yeah, Ken was the first person to try to dox me. And he's also the one that has threatened me with legal action more times than probably the rest of the community combined. So Ken will always hold a special place in my heart. What other questions were there? Oh, is there any investigation or any situation that you regret having to participated in? That's an interesting one. Because I don't think I really regret anything that I've done, but I have, in the case of Frank Messner, when he was alleged to have had a conversation with either the builder EOTB over on Dragon's Foot, and he apparently was trying to blackball Dragon EOTB and saying that you're not going to be able to, even register for any of the old school gaming conventions. It was a huge, these are threats, groundless to some extent, but they're threats. And EOTB showed me screenshots, which certainly looked legit. And then various admins at Dragon's Foot shared with me behind the scenes information proving that it came from Frank's computer. And Frank denied, and then Frank blamed it on a house guest that had access to his computer and did such in his name. And do I regret the investigation? No. Do I have issues for myself that somebody who I looked up to in the gaming community looked a lot more tarnished because of that? I know people were upset with me for doing so. I'm not upset with people being upset with me, but it also ruined my own illusions of what I saw Frank as. Listen, everybody's human. I'm human, you're human. Some of us are less human than others, right? But we're all human. We all have human faults. And sometimes we take people that we look at and we go, oh, so and so is an icon in the industry and they don't have faults. And you know what? They have faults. Everybody has faults. And I regret that I used to think of Frank as having no faults. And I also regret that I have to look at Frank with his faults. And I wish I was not put into a position where I had to reveal some of his faults. Doesn't make his achievements any less than they were. It does make Frank human. And I think we do a disservice to a lot of our heroes, especially in the gaming industry, by thinking that they are spotless and they are more than human. Everybody is human. So yeah, that's when it sticks in my craw. It's like um trying to think what else, what other questions were asked. Covered that, covered that. There's other stuff about TSR which I'm not going to go into right now. Um, yeah, no, I mean, oh, another question. Uh, how much information do you not share? Depends on the situation. Depends on what we're talking about. Um, if I don't have corroborating evidence, and I've had times where I've had what I thought initially was going to be I had good evidence, and I had a secondary source, but my secondary source was too spot on and too damn good. And then I realized that my secondary source was getting stuff from my primary source. Just didn't initially realize it. So you don't want to go into this type of stuff when whether it's checking into wayward Kickstarters or whether it is checking in to bad business tactics or whatever, or a nonprofit that might not be running quite above board. You don't want to go into it with preconceived ideas of what you're going to find. And that's sometimes hard because human nature means that you're already going into a lot of stuff with, oh, it's so and so. They're an asshole. It's got to be true, whatever I find out. And it isn't always that way, which is why I always look for secondary evidence. If I don't have screenshots can they be faked? Certainly. Um, but usually with the screenshots, I have secondary information that will confirm or make the screenshot extremely likely to exist and independent confirmation from different sources. But if the screenshot is shared publicly, it's out in the public. I'll talk about it. You know, other sources that I can say I am 100% sure who they are in my head, and yet publicly say I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, because I don't have a secondary confirmation of that source. I can see a lot of evidence that would tell me yes. If it was a civil case, I would say I get the preponderance of the evidence and then some. Maybe even a criminal case, guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Maybe I could even go that far. But I want to be as positive as possible before you say stuff like that. So not always easy. Um, other than that, I think I covered most of the points, most of the topics. the questions that were asked. If you have more questions, you can leave them as a comment here on this video, or you can reach me on social media. People figured out how to do it. Facebook, Discord, email, tankcars.tavern@gmail.com. Let me know what you listen. I'm not going to give up sources. Okay, I'm not going to give up information that could give up sources. That's not what I do. A lot of times there are people who want to do the right thing and at the same time don't want to get fucked for doing the right thing. And often that means coming to me. And I understand it. And I'm not going to put them in a position to get fucked. Okay? So sometimes it means not running with information I know, because without a secondary source, if I've only got one source and if it's obvious to me, then it could be obvious to others. I don't want to put people in that position. For what? So that's how that's the how and the why. That's the background, and that's the answer to pretty much the questions I got in the last 24 hours or so that I can answer. Some that I can't answer. But folks, we are still in the midst of the world of the pandemic, right? I am not a medical professional. I am, however, vaxxed and boosted and had COVID. And still am sleeping 10, 11 hours a day. So long-term COVID is real. I really couldn't give a flying F if you are vaxxed or not. I don't care. That's on you, right? Vaccination protects you. It doesn't protect anybody else. It protects you. So I strongly suggest, if you're not vaccinated, talk to a medical professional that knows your medical history and be guided by their guidance, but it doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm vaxxed. I protected myself. I got the comorbidities coming out of the ass anyway. I needed to do that. Other than that, folks, be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice. And God willing, I'll be back again tomorrow. Today was Valentine's Day. I didn't do a special Valentine's Day. Sorry. Bad Mike and I will be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. for a live stream. Do we have a special guest? I have no idea. We might. I'll know by tomorrow. How about that? Other than that, folks, I'll catch you later.